where were you before FFL, and what brought you to FFL?
Yeah, so before FFL, I was with another IMO for 3 years, and then I went with the dead president final expense company for a year, and then I've been with FFL for about 4 years now.
Okay. So what attracted you to Family First Life versus your other company?
Yeah, so what attracted me to Family First Life was, I guess first they didn't have all the fees for training and, you know, for the CRM and all this other stuff that I was having to pay excessively for. And then second, the compensation was significantly higher than where I had been for 4 years. And then thirdly, I liked that they had not just proprietary leads, but they worked with multiple vendors so that you could diversify your lead flow and get enough people to consistently see.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Now, when you first jumped in, I'm sure it wasn't, you've been here for a while, so it's completely different than what it is today. So what are some of the things that you did well, that you wish you had done differently in the beginning as you got started? Just walk us through those first couple of months, or that first year, so to speak.
Okay.
Mindset, schedule, lead wise.
Absolutely. I think initially I carried over like some of my prior beliefs from the previous companies in regards to, like, if you do 20,000 a month, that was fantastic. And so I kind of limited myself on what I thought was possible. And then, you know, hand in hand, it caused me to be afraid to invest too much in leads because I didn't psychologically fake myself out that I wouldn't return my money. So I just didn't invest enough in leads early on to really give myself a good shot for success. And then it just took me longer to work on my belief in investing and belief in high production levels.
Yeah, what were you investing in leads when you started, or what was kind of your approach to leads when you first started?
Yeah, honestly, I think like for the first month or two, my upline was like, well, hey, I got some old leads I could give you to get you started. They'll be free. And I was like, oh, that'd be great, you know? And then I quickly realized that wasn't going to work. So then I kind of dipped my feet in the water, and I think I did like 500 a week for a while, and then maybe like, you know, raised it $100 a week over time. But I was like really scared to get to $1,000 a week in leads. And so I didn't really see much past the 20,000 a month, you know, because I just wasn't investing enough for a while.
Okay, so when you say not investing enough, what do you invest now in leads, and what happened? Step us up from that $500. What kind of lead you were getting in addition to the leads that they were giving you? Step us up from there to what you spend on leads now.
Yeah, so, you know, initially I was getting, you know, the new mortgage leads, and they were a little bit easier to get back then. And that was kind of all we knew 4 years ago for the most part. And then I would get some older CRM leads that would pop up here and there. And so that kind of constituted of just a handful of leads per week, you know. And then now I'm probably spending, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 on leads. So I'm getting the instant internet life leads. I'm getting, you know, new mortgage leads, old mortgage leads, anything else they have on the CRM, the new life leads. Just trying to diversify and not put it all in one lead type or one vendor, because that's a dangerous thing to do, because it'll, you know, eventually you'll get to a point where that vendor can't deliver 1 week or something, you know.
Okay, so diversified and tripled your investment.
Correct.
Now, that's the transition that you made last year. Last year was your first Hall of Fame year, correct?
Correct.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Aside from getting serious about leads, what else would you say changed you from where you were, where the production was fairly inconsistent to Hall of Fame. And honestly, there was a point where it kind of shifted to maybe I'll hit Hall of Fame to knowing that it was up to you and you were definitely going to hit Hall of Fame if you wanted to.
Yeah. So I think the first 3 months of last year, I was at like 45,000 at the end of those 3 months. So I was really kind of Hall of Fame wasn't even on the radar. But then I went through a breakup, and it kind of really rocked me. And so I was like, and then COVID was going on. So I was like, well, I don't have anything to do. And I want to get this off my mind, so I can either just sit here and mope about life and just, think that the world is after me, or I can go out there and just make the best of this, crazy year and crazy situation. And so I just decided to go all in on leads at that point. Really, wide open schedule. I would run whenever, wherever. And I just worked consistently. And I think within a few months, I got up to doing 54,000 a month. Then I was consistently at like 40,000 a month, so that I could catch up from that first 3 months that were kind of slower.
Yeah.
And so, I think, it's not only investing in leads, but it's also, having the mindset that, success is yours. And if you work hard enough, you'll get it. And then also, not putting limits on your schedule on when you're available or when you want to work, but just being there for the client and working whenever they can meet, which is often nights and weekends.
Got it. So let's dig into that a little bit. You said aside from the leads, what is that? What was that mindset shift, and what are some of the things that you employ to facilitate that shift in mindset, and happen to cause that shift in mindset?
Yeah, so I think I'm a single guy. I don't have any kids or anything like that. So, just doing my little 20,000 honestly was good for a while, but I had to look at, what more money could help me achieve for the goals that I wanted long term in my life. And so I set those goals together, and I had some debts that I needed to take care of, and in other things that I wanted to achieve. I needed to replace my car and stuff like that. So I was like, if I can work hard, then I can get these goals and I can achieve them. And so I kept the goals in front of me daily, and I would read them and go over them, and really visualize them coming to fruition. And so that really helped me, also change my mindset to where I got those, $40,000 consistent months, to help me. And what I achieved financially last year was more than I've ever done at any year in my life. And it's just amazing. And, still this year is amazing too, what I can do. And, as before, I couldn't really do anything except pay my bills and just keep going,
Got it. So you did the work. You decided that you wanted to change. Some things happened that accelerated the change, but you made the change.
Exactly.
Now, I know a lot of people talk about the system and support and things like that. What role, what does that mean to you when somebody says plug into the system or the support system? And what role did that play in your transition from Richard, $20,000 a month is great to I got to write 40 grand or I really didn't work?
Right. So yeah, as far as plugging into the system, I think, obviously, we talk regularly, and that helps me, stay connected. And also, if I ever had anything that I wasn't sure about in the home and things like that, or if I wasn't sure about how to, run this lead or approach this client or whatever. And then I also had another running buddy, Josh Rose, who's on Athena's team, and I'm on Athena's team. And so me and Josh were very similar, numbers wise, about.
So wait, real quick, you're a Hall of Fame producer, and you still call people from the house?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I don't know everything. Okay. I mean, I try to. I don't want to mess up, so I just try to get advice or help when I can, because just telling the client what I think, and if I'm not sure, I mean that's just arrogant. So I try to just get the right answer and tell them then.
Makes
But
perfect
yeah,
sense.
so then I had a running buddy, and about from June to December of last year, me and Josh were like neck and neck to hit Hall of Fame for the first time. And so we would talk to each other regularly and keep pushing each other, like, where's your number? Where's your number? How much are you going to do? How many appointments do you have today? And how many leads are you getting? And all this stuff. And so it really helped to have somebody that I was walking through the journey with at the same time, because, I'm competitive and I didn't want to lose and he didn't want to lose. And so I think that's part of plugging into the system is, there's so many people in the company, whether it's selling, recruiting, whatever, there's somebody that is moving right along the same path as you. So just reach out to them and then you won't feel so alone.
Yeah. Now, did somebody connect you and Josh, or how did that whole running buddy thing come about?
Yeah. So Josh and I actually worked together, 8 years ago at the prior company. And then, we've worked together 4 years here. And so, I mean, we knew each other and we'd see each other at the meetings and things like that. But I think, last year we both decided to take it seriously. And so that's where it really went from just calling to, say what's up, to actually calling to say, like, are you going to go work today, and that kind of thing.
Okay. So accountability, you had an accountability partner.
Correct.
Okay. So you made a decision, you plugged into and stayed true to the system. You had an accountability partner. What else are you telling? You're hiring now, obviously.
Right.
What else are you telling your agents that they need to do to ensure their success, that you wish that somebody had told you, or you wish you had listened? Because I'm sure you're just regurgitating the same things that were told to you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, to take your dial day seriously, because, this business is 80% of the phone, and a lot of people get discouraged by dialing, but that's really the only way that you're going to set up enough shots to achieve the results that you want. And so, taking the dial day seriously, and then plugging into like the Zoom dial session so that you don't feel like you're out there alone. And again, having that accountability. And then, making sure that you get those 15 appointments for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 15 for Friday, Saturday. So that way that, even if you miss half of them, you still have a good shot to sell the other ones, so but if you only have 10 appointments in the week, like, good luck.
Yeah. How much time would you say that you spend on the phones?
And for
On a
dialing,
typical dial day? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think now it's not very much, but it took me a long time to get there. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years, so I'd probably say, like 2-3 hours, maybe 4. But back in the day, I mean, I could have to dial for 8 hours a day on dial day.
At least, and you're not at all confused as to what that translates to. So shifting gears to building, when did you get serious about building, and what are you doing now in your recruiting efforts, and how did you start that recruiting process?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not, where I want to be on that at all, but
None of us are.
yeah, but I think it's just, I'm trying to get like some warm leads. I'm going to like different networking events and talking to people about what I do, and then talking to the clients that I'm meeting with about, what I do, and, showing them that, that it's possible for them. And then, plug it into connections that I have on Facebook, like sharing posts of my success or other people's success, and, what the company can do for them. And then, just kind of using all those different methods to get people kind of attracted to it, that I have some kind of connection with.
Yeah. So a lot of people are surprised when you talk to them about recruiting their their clients, the people that they sit with, what is it about sitting with somebody that says that says, Richard, you should probably tell them more about what you do after you finish protecting their family? And what does that transition sound like?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you look at, kind of what they're doing for work, and kind of their family dynamic. So if they have like young kids or whatever, and then look at like the income versus the expenses. So like I met with a young guy and his wife was sick, so she couldn't work, had some kind of disability or something. And then he had two young kids. So I could tell that he was really ambitious and eager. And, he was interested in the business because he needed extra money to supplement what he was already doing, kind of like a go-getter. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But if it's somebody that, they're comfortable, they don't really need any extra money, and they've done this job forever, it's going to be a little bit harder to recruit somebody like that.
How do you make that transition from sitting across the table talking to them about protecting their family to sitting across the table talking to them about providing for the family?
Yeah, well, honestly, when I first started with the other company 8 years ago, the guy said, "Hey, we're hiring some people. If you know anybody that would want to do this," and he met with my mom for the mortgage protection, and so then my mom referred me to him, and that's how I got into the business. So it's just kind of like either directly asking him like, "Hey, if we're hiring, if y'all are ever interested in making a little bit of extra money," um, or you can say, "Hey, if you know anybody, I know that it's crazy time right now. We're hiring. If you could refer them to me or whatever."
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but he's not the most outgoing person in the world. And that's one of the things that makes Family First Life great, is that you can be you and find somebody that's just like you and pull from them, and they'll guide you, and you'll learn from their mistakes. And this is my last question, and then I'll turn it over to the group. Richard, what are some of your favorite training resources, trainers, videos that you use to help you turn the corner, help the light bulb come on, that you can share with other people in hopes that it'll help them kind of turn the corner or find themselves in FFL as well? And then trainers specifically that you like.
Yeah, I got you. So I've watched Brian Mendenhall. He's done the Inside the Sale, and then
that's a great one.
Yeah, and then I've definitely connected with you and Easton and some other people as far as what they do in the home, and I try to watch any like upcoming training they have on the YouTube, because I feel like I'm very visual. Listen to everything on audio is kind of hard. And then every now and then I feel like I still need to like get recharged and get around people that are having success and doing well. So I'm going to Denver on Monday to the sales conference. And it's just investing in yourself and investing in the business. Like, I mean, you can watch the videos, listen to training, but sometimes you just need to go to a meeting. And I know there's probably a lot of sales conferences up where y'all are as well. So yeah, I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's and I'm not by any means I guess buying that you travel the country and go to sales conferences, because it's the same information, but they happen quarterly. And rather than going to yours every quarter, especially once you get up and running, it's a phenomenal idea to find a sales conference within another agency, hire some people out in that area, go out there, run, get away from home and run, let that be your first travel trip, and learn from somebody different. Just because the information was gathered differently, because they processed it differently, and as a result, they disseminate it differently, and it'll definitely help shape your experience here at Family First Life. And that's why the conventions are so powerful too, is because you have people coming from all over the country. And then only the best and brightest get to share, but everybody's there, so you can kind of pull on them at your leisure, as you see fit. So I know you're busy, like everybody else, and we're cutting into your downtime, your recruiting time. But I do want to open it up to the group and let them ask a few questions if you have a few more minutes. We're right at 30, maybe spend 10, 15 minutes answering a few questions, if you will.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right, perfect. So if you have any questions for Richard, just go ahead and unmute and fire away.
I got one, Richard.
Okay.
I'm really curious about your perspective. You said 8-hour days, and I texted in a group chat. What a concept, right? Just work 8 hours and
Yeah.
make a ton of money. So nothing really special. Can you break down, because I do have, I'm pretty sure we are on the same page if you've been doing this for 8 years. I think there's such thing as 8 self-employment hours, like when you actually working 8 hours and not just, what can you break down what 8-hour dial day really means and what the approach is and what are you actually putting in the hours, when you're dialing a few newer agents?
Yeah, definitely. I can break that down for sure. So the way that I would do it is, back in the day, I would have to buy, larger amount of, like the $3 leads or the instant leads. So I had tons of leads I had to call, but now I can go more towards, I guess, the quality over quantity. So it saves me time. But with that being said, say I had 100 leads I had to call that day. I would try to break it down like into chunks. So I knew that I could dial between 8 and 12 and then take a break. And then, I could come back at 4 and dial from 4 to 8. And that just kind of worked for me. And I felt like it was easy to catch people like in the morning and then catch them like at nighttime when they got home from work. And, that way I had the afternoon to kind of take a break, go for a walk, go to lunch or whatever. But I mean, you can definitely just, if you have to get home to your kids or something, you can adapt that schedule and do like 8 to 12 and then 2 to 6.
This is perfect, Richard. What are you actually doing? How many dials are you packing in each hour? I mean, I guess what each hour looks like, not necessarily like from the scheduling standpoint, but what's happening within that hour? Do you talk to everybody else in the office? You check Facebook, or what does that look like?
No, I mean, I just have my agenda in front of me. So I actually circle each time in the agenda that I'm trying to schedule an appointment. So that way I'm not just guessing. I know what every slot is going to be. And then I'm just looking at the lead and looking at my schedule. And I don't really read the lead until the number's ringing, because that's just a waste of time. And then I'll be reading the lead and I'll just triple dial each one and go through. And then make haystacks so that I know actually how many dials I'm doing, so that I don't like psych myself out to think I did more work than I actually did. And, a good rule of thumb is, about $60 an hour, give or take. So that way you can kind of know, what you're shooting for. Like if you only made $20 an hour, you really didn't work.
Who else got questions, guys?
I do have a quick question. You said you dialed from 8 to 12 and then from 4 to 8. That 12 to 4, I know you said a break, but is that a true break, or what are you doing with that time in regards to the business?
Yeah, so during that time, I'm looking at, hiring agents, and then, checking my pending, following up on policies, things like that. Like I'm not just, going to play golf or anything. I'm just using that time for other things. But I just felt like, for the most part, that those morning and evening sessions work best for me.
Let's say an agent didn't have much money for leads. Where would you focus that? Like, let's say $500 to start.
Yeah, $500 to start. Honestly, I would just stick with you know, the CRM, because I don't think with you're talking about 500 a week, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the goal is, 10 times the money, and then, the next week, reinvest that into more leads. But yeah, essentially.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so with that being said, I would just start with the CRM because you know, with only $500, I don't think you're in a position to set up any like kind of campaigns or, you know, mailing or anything like that. You know, on the CRM, it has the old mortgage leads, it has the Facebook, it has the instant internet life leads. So I just try to get a good mixture of those so you could get at least, you know, 50 leads at the minimum. You know, ideally more, but at least 50. So that way you have a shot to make some money and then go reinvest.
I was wondering how long you were with FFL before you started recruiting, and did you have any expectations for yourself of like producing wise before you started recruiting?
Yeah, it took me a long time because, like I said, there was so many people that were doing more than me, and I was just kind of comfortable living in my little world of paying my bills and moving on. But I think, you know, towards like the end of last year, when I really knew that I was going to hit Hall of Fame and knew that, you know, now I had, I guess, like success to share and that would attract people easier. You know, I went with that, but you know, I wish I would have done it sooner because you know, 4 years in is kind of a long time, and you don't really have to be a Hall of Fame producer to recruit or anything. I think it's better to start as soon as you can, and then you just, you know, highlight other people's success instead of your own.
Okay, thank you. And I hear that a lot. I wish I would have done it sooner. Wish I'd have done it sooner.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Yeah, definitely gotta go and make money. So, and then you can definitely recruit. You can lead by example. Recruiting, if you in the field, you know, it's so much easier. You can show people your deposits, and that's your main recruiting tool, right? So,
Absolutely.
Do we got more questions, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Richard, you mentioned quality over quantity. Can you talk about what leads you're getting? I'd really love to cut down on my dial time and fill my schedule up more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quality, and I mean, you have to make sure that you're ready for this, you know, because you either have time or money, and it took me a while to get the money instead of the time. But you know, like the new mortgage leads, obviously will save you time on the phone. But you know, now those can be up to $95. So you know, that's if you mess up on that dial, like, you know, that you got to be prepared on that. And then you know, I do some like older mortgage leads, just anything that I feel like that is direct mail that they just sent in, they're going to be more likely to book an appointment with a less quantity of leads. Versus if you go with like an internet lead, they're still good and they're a lot cheaper, but you're just going to have to call more of them to get the same amount of appointments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. So initially when you started, how did you come about calling all these providers for like if they needed a change of bank drafts and stuff? Because that's what I'm finding out now, that I don't know if I'm making a mistake, because it's taking me time to call the carriers for changes and whatnot, and that takes time. Do you do that like when you're off the not calling dial days?
Yeah, so I guess I need to understand the question better, but are you talking about like within the first days of the 30 days of the policy issue that you're having issues, or is it later on after the policy's been enforced?
Well, I mean, I'm just starting. I've been with you guys for about 2 months and a half, and what I found is that I really want to help the client, so I'm trying to give them the best product. So sometimes I find myself doing exams, you know, the like for like Mutual Omaha, Term Answers. So it's taking a longer process, and I'm finding myself calling the carriers and just, you know, I guess giving myself more homework, you know. And so when I'm dialing, what I'm doing now is I dial, I set up the appointments, and I commit for a whole week, and I get results. But then the following week, I'm finding myself doing a homework, which is like they change bank accounts and they have questions and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like, am I doing something wrong or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know the total situation, but it definitely sounds like I don't have, number one, too many clients that switch bank accounts like right off the bat. Like maybe like a year in, they'll change their banks and they'll call me. Or
I guess the service part, the servicing part. That's what.
right. So yeah, so it's kind of uncommon to have clients switch their banks initially. That doesn't really happen. And I think as far as like the draft date, like normally we try to approve on issue, but if they're on a fixed income, Social Security, something like that, if it's an internet lead or a final expense, I'm trying to ask when they get paid to make sure I set that date up correctly, so you don't have an issue on what day the money comes out. Just make sure that it has to come out within 30 days of the initial application. So just by asking good questions, you should eliminate the banking and draft date issues, so you shouldn't have to worry about that later on. In regards to the fully underwritten, we don't really do that here. I know it's cheaper and it sounds appealing and it looks good. But the reality is that most of our clients can't get that preferred plus rate that you're getting quoted on your iPad or your phone, because most people have some kind of health issue, medication, they're overweight or they smoke or something. And so, we just do simplified issue products. And yes, it costs more, but they don't know about fully underwritten unless you tell them about it normally. So if we just stick with simplified issue, then we can get stuff approved and get paid in a day or two. And then that'll help you give more money to reinvest, to go see more people. But if you're waiting, 3 months for them to get an exam and underwriting to look at it,
That takes longer.
yeah, then it's going to be really frustrating. And then when those exams come back and then you tell them it costs more than what you quoted them, that it's just really frustrating. So
Yeah, it makes sense. That's where I'm at now. So it's all leading up to simplify the issue, which you answered the question. It's awesome.
I think to piggyback on that, what he said, and he alluded to it in the beginning, and that's where plugging in comes in handy. And listening to the Brian Mendenhalls, the Jonathan Porcinas, the Zach Chudowskis, you're just not building any value, and you're selling on price. So if you build value and create a sense of urgency when you're on the phone, both when you're on the phone and when you're in the home. But if you build value, when value exceeds price, people buy and they never think twice about it. I mean, I've had people call me from the home when they're sitting with another agent that's selling them, trying to sell them a fully underwritten product when I sold them simplified issue. And because I build so much value and the way that we're trained here at FFL is completely different than they train everywhere else. So the value that you build when you're in the house will supersede everything else. And like he said, they only know about fully underwritten because you mentioned it, because you got nervous about the price, because you're selling insurance based on your budget and not spending the time to get to know them, what their needs are, their why, and what their budget is, if that makes sense. Sorry, Rick.
Yeah, it makes sense. Thanks, Wayne.
We got time for one more question, and I'm gonna let Richard get back to his day.
okay.
Who wants that last question? Or we can just let him go. Any parting
I've got
shots,
one
Richard?
question.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got a question for Richard. Hey,
Sure.
first of all, congratulations on your success, Richard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I do have a question. I know you already answered one of them. You mentioned something that you would have done different. But what else would you have done different if you could talk to some of us that have been in this business with the FFL for less than a year? What else
Yeah,
could you tell us?
Yeah, so previously I said that, I would, eliminate my self-limiting beliefs as far as, that 20,000 in production is all that I could do myself. And then I said that I would invest more in leads and not be afraid of, afraid of that. And then I guess thirdly, I would look at, initially I was afraid to call from the home because I felt like it made me look stupid. But now I realize that if I don't call from the home when I'm not sure, I don't know what product to write or if it'll get approved, then I could potentially be costing myself thousands of dollars by not getting that sale. So now I'm like, well, I don't care if I look stupid, or I don't care if, it messes with my ego. I just want to make sure that I can help this family and that I can help my family. So I'm just going to call anyway. And so that's what I do.
Nice, nice. The one thing I've always told my recruits under me is when people feel like they're look like they don't know, I always tell them the client in front of you doesn't know that you don't know, so you just go and shoot.
Yeah.
But that is a good thing to call, have somebody to help you out like that. But thank you for your time again, Richard.
You're welcome.
I actually have a question if you have 1 second left.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm just starting. So my question was, a lot of agents that I know will work with like all companies and they have like a little bit of knowledge about every company. Other agents will work with only like maybe 5 companies and have extensive amounts of knowledge for those 5 companies. Do you work with all companies and have little bits of knowledge on every single one? Or do you have like your 5 go-tos that you run with and that like that's your go-to? Like obviously America, because they have a lot of incentives, and obviously like you have to have AIG on there for, obviously folks over 50, but is there like your go-to companies that you work with that you like stand behind and that's like your favorite ones?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've done this for 4 years just with FFL, so I pretty much have extensive knowledge of all the companies that we do have, but I do just try to stick with those handful of 5 companies for the most part, unless there's some crazy situation on why we need to go with another company, because it just keeps everything simpler. And so even when I'm checking up on business or everything else, I don't have to go to 10 different websites. So yeah, Americo, always lead with Americo. And then like you said, AIG if they're real sick. But if they're kind of in between on the final expense or over 50, mortgage protection, then I'm looking at, Prosperity or Aetna. And then if for some reason they can't go through with Americo on the term product, I'm either looking at like a America Amicable or John Hancock or, some Mutual Omaha. So I guess kind of like three term and then 3 whole life. It's probably a good way to do it. Make sure you
So
get
you're separating the companies based on their products, not based on like the company's qualifications, pretty much just based on so like 3 term and 3 whole life, and then that's kind of your go-to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Real quick, just so that she doesn't create work for herself. Richard, how much of that did you do in the beginning? I know that's what you do now and how you look at it now, but when you first started out, how did you approach the products?
Okay, yeah, that's a better question. So I guess in the beginning, I would just try to stick with Americo for almost everything. And then if you can't get it through, then, pick one, Prosperity or Aetna, because they're a little more liberal. And then worst case, like that AIG.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I would do that.
And then at what point in your
And I
career, like were you 6 months in or were you a year in when you hired an admin to work on your underwriting, or did you solely work on your underwriting on your own and then kind of later hire an admin to work on your recruiting and your underwriting?
Yeah, I mean, I did it for over 3 years on my own. So, I think
so don't waste money on it if you don't have to, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if you're going to hire somebody, I would hire a recruiter, but as far as with the EAPs, I mean, the need of an admin isn't really just to check on your penny business. I don't feel like you'd have that much work for them if you're doing a good job in the house.
Gotcha. Yep. Thank you.
Those are great questions. If you want to build an agency, you probably need admin from day one, and recruiter as well. Recruiter first, obviously. But anyways, Richard, thank you for jumping in, helping us out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Audit.
Absolutely, man. So definitely learned a lot. And you know what? That's the thing that's part of our system. I mean, it's just like you still calling from the home if you don't know something. I'm still jumping on all the training and learning something every day. So we all can, and it's part of the system. That's what it really takes, you know, to get to the next level is, you know, learning little bits and pieces of information all the time. So
Yeah.
anyways, but guys, great week. I appreciate you all. Just, it's not complicated. Just like Richard said, you know, work 8-hour days and buy leads and just go out there. Don't overcomplicate it, but just give us a parting shot and we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. So final word of advice. Okay. Yeah. So I guess final advice is just, you know, surround yourself and plug into people that are where you want to be, because you're only as strong as the people that you associate with. So if you kind of raise your level of association, then you'll think differently and then you'll act differently, which will help you achieve more success.